Hey guys, I'm Desho, and I am here bringing you my Gerard deck again. And I am now in round 3. I lost the die roll, so my opponent's going first. But no matter, my deck doesn't really care too much about being on the play. It's not like really trying to push damage through with Drudge Beetles or something like that and really hoping that I can get in before they play their 3-drop, so it really doesn't matter much to me. But he's just going to play Vassal Soul on turn 3, and then I'm going to counter back with a Sewer Shambler. And this is the game where you really see how much of a liability just Sewer Shambler on turn 3 is. If this was a Dead Reveler, it would have been a completely different game. I would have just been able to start beating in for a ton of damage. I mean, depending on what he had in hand. Can't really tell, but I mean, I'd just be able to start swinging in here. But instead, my Sewer Shambler was basically a waste of a 3-drop, since now he's got the Skymark Rock. But anyway, I wanted to talk to you about this play right here. So I didn't even think of it because I'm not just thinking on all cylinders. I mean, when I go back and review the games, it's a lot easier to see these mistakes that I made. But during the game, I have a Sewer Shambler that's a 2-1, and he's got a Skymark Rock that's a 3-3. His Skymark Rock is way more valuable than my Sewer Shambler or any Pump Spell or anything like that. My Sewer Shambler almost has no value to me right now because it's just going to get sent back to my hand with his Skymark Rock. So I could have just swung in there for 2 damage, and there's almost no way that my opponent would have blocked in that situation, fearing a Pump Spell, because he definitely doesn't want to lose his Skymark Rock like that. So it's pretty much 2 free damage that I could have gotten in, and even if he did block, it's not like I was dead. I could still scavenge the Sewer Shambler later on, and even just put it on the Towering Edric that I was going to play this turn to make it a 4-6 to make sure that he can never really attack with his flyers for pretty much the rest of the game. So that was just one tiny mistake. I mean, it wasn't a huge deal. It would just have taken him down from 20 to 18. But it's things like that that can sometimes add up to somewhere along the line where if I had just taken a different line of play, then maybe it would have been able to kill him a turn sooner or something like that. So it's just those kind of things that you have to be wary of. But anyway, he has no 4-drop. He doesn't even play a land. And I just cast my Corpse Jack Menace. Unfortunately for me, he's got a Syncopate. So he's just going to get rid of that Corpse Jack Menace. And it gets exiled, which is pretty relevant in a deck that has Gerard. So either way, he can't really attack now. If he does swing with both, then I just kill the Vassal Soul. If he swings with the Skymark Rock, then I can just block it. So not really too much doing there. If he did attack, I would block because there's no way that I can play around Swift Justice or another Pump Spell for the entire game. I would have to block at some point. So right now I'm just going to stab wound his Skymark Rock, and luckily that does resolve for me. And that puts me in a really good position because now not a really good position. I mean, he's going to take 2 from it every turn, but it kind of gives his Skymark Rock some sort of unblockableness. I mean, I can either block it and just set a precedent saying, nope, I'm not going to let you get through with this for 1 every turn and bounce my Sewer Shambler. Instead, I'm just going to kill it. But I also could just say, you know what, you can swing it for 1 damage every turn, and I'll deal 2 to you, and we'll see who wins that race. But in the end, it doesn't really become too relevant. My opponent thinks for a really long time here, and I'll just give you a little hint. He's got the land, and he's got a Void Wielder. I believe that's this play. He's got the land and a Void Wielder. Yep, and he's trying to decide whether or not he has 2 options here. He can play land, Void Wielder, pick up my Towering Edric, swing in for 5, take me down to 13, but then I can just recast my Towering Edric next turn, and that's not too useful for him. And he's still taking the 1 from the stab wound the 2 from the stab wound every turn, and his Skymark Rock's pretty much useless. So instead, he opts to pick up his own creature. He pick up his Skymark Rock, and that thing won't damage him every turn anymore. So that seems pretty good, especially since then he'll have a 1/4, a 2/4, and a 2/2 flyer. So it's pretty much just going to be a board stall, and on a board stall you don't really want stab wound on your creature. So he decides that this is the right play, and I think I agree with that. I mean, just looking at the board state for the first time, you're just like, man, just Void Wielder, pick up your 1 blocker and attack. But it doesn't really accomplish too much because all it does is take me down to 13, and then the board's pretty stable again the next turn. If he wants to start attacking, he's going to have to start losing creatures. So that's not great for him. Luckily for me, though, I pretty much drew all my best cards in this game, and that's just pretty awesome. And you'll see what cards I draw later. But for now, I'm going to play a Sewer Shambler, and I'm going to stab wound his Hussar Patrol to make it a 0/2, which basically means that I'm not going to be attacking for the rest of the game. So yeah, I mean, I don't want that stab wound to go away. That's a more aggressive stab wound. The first one was kind of defensive. It puts me in a position where if I need to, I can actually just block and kill the Skymark Rock. But if you make something 0 power and it doesn't have an ability like when it attacks return something to their hand, then that just becomes a complete liability for him. He really wishes he could Void Wielder this thing instead, or in addition to, I don't know. But, I mean, he's just going to be taking a turn for the rest of the game. So now he needs to now what he needs to do is make a favorable board state so that he'll be able to win the game before the stab wound kills him. I mean, he's got plenty of time since he's still at 16, so he's got like 8 turns. But I mean, it is still a clock. So instead of playing the Skymark Rock, he's going to opt to play a Sunspire Griffin and a Frostburn Weird. So it really helps on mana efficiency to do it that way. He got to play 2 creatures instead of just 1. Unfortunately, he is stuck on 5 lands, which I don't know how relevant that is. I don't know if he's got like an Esprit of Skywatch or something like that in hand. But anyway, I Grizzly Salvage here, and there's a couple of purposes for this. Number one, I'm trying to hit another green source, or I don't need to hit another green source, but that would work well for me, and that's what I end up taking. And I can put something in the graveyard, so I sent the Scorpion to the graveyard. So that works out pretty well for me. And right here, I believe, is the turn that I will cast Gerard, and that makes his clock a little bit shorter. So when I said previously it's going to be 8 turns, it's not quite going to be that much, because I now have the option to start scavenging onto my guys and then flinging them at him and stuff like that. So unfortunately for him, he still doesn't really have such a great board state where he can actually just start beating in and killing me or anything. I only have 1 creature in the yard, I believe. Or do I have 2? Do I have 2 Scorpion? No, I have 1 Scorpion in the graveyard. The other gold card is a Grizzly Salvage. And unfortunately for him, he doesn't really have good attacks. The only creature that he can attack with is his Frostburn Weird, but if I decide to block with my Towering Indrik, he's just going to have to he's going to have to just bounce off, because he can't kill it without another blue source. And, I mean, he could have attacked something like Sunspire Griffin and Frostburn Weird, but I suppose he didn't want to do that. Instead, he opts to play his Armory Guard. For some reason here, he taps 5 mana for it. I mean, he's got 6 taps, but the Guildgate came into play, tap this turn. So I'm not really sure what happened there. I think he just made a mistake. And here I play a Scorpion, and I am now not quite ready, but I am getting towards the point in the game where I just want to close it out. I don't think that it would have been, well, it might have been right, actually, if I had just scavenged onto my Sewer Shambler and then launched it at him at end step, taking him down to 8. Now, that wouldn't have been able to kill him quickly enough, but instead, since I knew that the Skymark Rock was probably coming down this turn or next turn or something like that, since, I mean, it's been a while since he played it, I figured that I may as well keep my mana open, because I do have a play here. So he is going to play the Skymark Rock, and I don't think he has any attacks, so then at the end step, I'm just going to launch party, sacrificing my Sewer Shambler, shooting his bird, and that's going to deal another 2 to him, taking him down to 10. So this incremental life loss is just really, really building up, and I don't really even need to draw any more cards to win this game. I just need the board state to pretty much stay the same, and for him not to be able to kill me. I think I actually have him dead next turn, since I'm going to scavenge my Sewer Shambler onto my Scorpion, getting 2 counters. It takes us like forever to even find a die here, but I'm just gonna scavenge like that, and then on his attacks next turn, all I have to do is survive, because I can launch my Scorpion at him, take him down to what would be 4, since he's going to take another 2 from the stab wound, and then I can do the same thing next turn with this Scorpion or the other Scorpion that's already in the graveyard. And just put it on my Towering Indrik and kill it. So he needs to kill my Gerard this turn pretty much, and even if he does that, it won't even be such a big deal, because I can just bring it back. So he needs to like arrest my Gerard, I suppose, and then he still only has a couple of turns to win. So it's really not looking like he's going to be able to come back from this. I'm not sure what he was really thinking here, because, I mean, he's dead on board for next turn. So I don't know why he didn't just attack with everything, and then at least make me think about blocks, and then maybe I would make a mistake. But instead he just decides to attack with his Frostburn Weird, and there's really not much to say about what happens. I mean, I just block with my Sluice Away Scorpion, and then just because of the way combat works, he has to pump 3 times, and then once he does that, and basically wastes all his blue mana, I can sacrifice Gerard. I can sacrifice the Scorpion, dealing 4 to him, and then the next turn I can just win the game. And also, what's really useful about this attack for me is it taps him out of blue mana, so I know that he's not going to have any counters or anything like that. Although, I mean, he still could have Heroes Reunion, and that's really the card that screws me the most, because generally the way that this deck works is the last turn of the game is the turn where I lose everything except for Gerard. And not all my creatures in my graveyard, but a lot of them go away, and it just becomes a really sad time. So he's just going to pump 3 times, and then I'm going to be like, alright, now I'm going to launch it at you, and then deal 4 to him. He goes down to 4, and then I don't even need to scavenge onto it. I just, for some reason, do. I'm not sure why. I guess it doesn't give him another untap step. Yeah, I guess that makes sense, because he could, like, untap Dramatic Rescue or something like that. Oh, yeah, that's what I was worried about here. That's why I asked him what color mana he has open. But anyway, I'm just going to win this game. And, yeah, I'll be back for Game 2 pretty soon, so I hope you guys enjoyed this one. And have a nice day. Bye.